Internet, hello you lovelies, and welcome to my review of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, a very long title and a very good movie. Going to be diving into a non-spoiler review right here, but please, if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to talk about this movie, please leave comments below, because this is a movie I want to have a conversation about. And if you want to check out other reviews, I do want to make this a comic news and review show, but also a movie news and review channel. So, please check out the other stuff on this page, and please do hit subscribe. Without further ado, let's dive into Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but this is actually a tricky movie to spoil in that we have tread this path before. And I think that's one of the interesting things about this movie is no matter how many times we tell a story similar to this does evolve the legacy of the Apes films, but it does feel like there are moments that we've seen before, and by the time we get to the end, and I won't spoil the end because I do think the ending is kind of the only thing that is a spoiler, it does feel familiar, but not in a bad way. It does feel like they're kind of rebooting the trilogy without rehashing the trilogy, and that's a hard line to walk. So I was really impressed overall with the story it told. I really love the idea of a legacy being trodden upon. I love the idea of besmirching someone's words. I love the idea of almost like a religious fanaticism over Caesar, causing over generations this new world of apes and this new problem. Because that original trilogy really set up this incredible cliffhanger of, well, we've lost Caesar, spoiler for a movie 10 years ago, apologies if you hadn't seen it, but we lost Caesar, what does it mean for the apes? And this movie picks up with that moment and then leaps ahead. And I think it's really interesting because this is a time right now that we're living in dealing with the importance of these words that we take so to heart, whether you're a religious person and those words are of a book of holiness to you, or if you're someone that lives in a country whose rules feel a bit outdated, or if you're someone that is conflicted about how the forefathers of whatever you deal with disagree with you. And in this case, I really love that both sides of the dispute are reading the same words and how they get basically merged into their belief system. And I think that's a really powerful message about the power of language and the power of what it means to stand for something. And language is a vital part of this film. There's an entire subplot dealing with the power of language and how books themselves are passing on knowledge, passing on wisdom, passing on what it meant to be alive at that time, but also what we learned at that time. And I think that is something we're losing more and more in our time. I think the abundance of data and the abundance of knowledge that we have is making people less intelligent. I think the more you can Google something, the less you know something. I think the more you feel like you know everything, the less you try to learn anything. And this movie doesn't dive into that as much as I would have liked it to, but it does deal with that concept and does deal with the fanaticism of blindly following words and how people can take over those concepts, how people can basically become leaders with just a smidge more intelligence than the average person because they're not seeking that knowledge. This movie also deals very interestingly, not just with legacy, but the cost of progress, the loss when you move forward, and what it means to rebuild, and what it means to accept the eggs that are required to make an omelet. And I don't see a lot of big blockbusters dealing with any of these heady concepts, and that's what Apes has always done. It's really always been about dealing with really large ideas in a very entertaining way. And now, I'm going to get to my grade at the end of this, but I will say one of the struggles I had was this movie only works. It only works if you believe in the apes 100%. If you are fully invested in the world of apes, because they're your eye line in this film. Noah is our lead, and he is an ape, and his family and support system is apes, and he's, in the beginning, against humans, which he calls echoes, because he has no exposure to actual humans. Echoes are just this lesser version of them, and that's honestly a very clear parallel of how we see apes, how we see orangutans, how we see primates that cannot yet speak. And in this world, the humans, as you know with apes, the apes films, a virus has spread, and humans devolve as apes evolve. So to apes, we would be what we are to them now, and that's the beautiful message at the end of the first Apes from all those years ago, a quarter century back with the Statue of Liberty. But it's used really interestingly here because it's basically dealing with the concept of he feels above these echoes and then finds out one can speak and how that changes his whole worldview. But it doesn't work as a film unless you're so invested in the belief that they're real and tangible, and it does that so well. And that's what I want to give it credit for. But what's tricky is, and a reason the film doesn't land as strong for me, is it feels like it's so wrapped up in the beauty of itself, and it is beautiful, it is stunning, it is a masterpiece of animation, it is a masterpiece of framing a real-life world opposite ones and zeros. I can't imagine acting in this world and then seeing it come to life. But there are moments in the first act that meander a bit, and I don't know what parts I'd cut, but I do feel like in the first hour of the film, 10 minutes shaved would have made the last hour of the film more impactful, because you need to invest in this world, and you need to believe in this world in order to have that weird, whoa, I understand where the apes are coming from. I'm identifying with them, even at the cost of humanity. And then the humanity reveal has more of a pop. And now the humanity reveal, I'm not going to ruin here. That's a spoiler-ish. But by the time you get to the third act, there's so much passion in you feeling for both sides. You legitimately understand where the antagonists in the human-ish and the antagonists in the apes-ish are coming from. Now, the actual antagonist ape, played by Kevin Durant, Proximus Caesar, is absolutely terrifying and a zealot, and he's not someone you can identify with, but he's the extreme, and that's also the fanaticism I was talking about, and he does an incredible job being commanding and being a force of nature and being terrifying to apes and humans alike, but he does it in a way where you can understand, not to the point where you agree, but you can understand how he got there and what he's coming from and how he was raised through this fanaticism. Then you've also got Noah's family, and Noah's played by Owen Teague, and Owen's family is all very much peace and love and nurture, but you understand how they need to be defensive and how they need to come up. And there's a great subplot with eagles, and that's a lot of metaphors in itself, and the things that lands on by the time they get to the third act is really wonderful, and I was really impressed at how much you live in and out of that subplot. Like, the B plot comes back and you're just as invested as when it left. I also want to give some love to the human characters. Freya Allen plays May, and she is a woman of few words, both narratively and in the performance, and what she's able to do is just so powerful. You're so captivated by her eyes, you're so captivated by her physicality, that she comes in a little bit later into the film and then is with you, but it's not until like the second act that you really have this push of why you feel empathetic. You instinctively do, because we as humans want what's best for humanity, but then there's a surge of why. And then there's things in the third act that makes you, again, like fluctuate between Noah and her and what's right and what's wrong. This movie being about morality, and this movie being about, like I said at the top, fanaticism, legacy, and what progress costs is fascinating, because you agree with people that aren't human, and you understand a bit more about humanity by seeing the other side of humanity. And I think that's so powerful and so important. So I really think this movie should be seen by everyone, and I'll get to the rating right here. I do think, however, it's not quite what I wanted out of connecting all the way. I really wish I'd felt a little more for other apes other than just Noah and Raka. Raka is an orangutan, so I guess technically not an ape, and you immediately love this guy. He is a hippie slash kind of a wise man, a bit of a priestly figure about the word of Caesar, a librarian, a keeper of knowledge, and those two apes I was absolutely invested in. But I do think some of the pacing in the first act kept me from being able to fully get to the characters in the second and third act as much as I'd have liked to. So I give this personally a B. It's 3.5 stars out of 5 for me. The other Apes films in the original trilogy are between 4 and 4.5. I would put this on par or just above War, though. So it's probably third out of 4 if we want to count the new legacy ape films, but it is absolutely worth seeing. It's absolutely worth checking out in the theater. 3.5 stars is fairly high for me. A B is a high grade. I consider C average. A's are rare and near impossible. A pluses, I've only ever given 25 A pluses ever, so a B is a solid grade. This film is worth checking out in the theater. It is an absolute spectacle. It is, as I explained at the top, full of so much philosophy and pondering, and what humanity is worth saving, and the movie represents that. And I don't want to spoil the final act, but I will say the beautiful images that mirror each other in the last few minutes of the film, and the beautiful use of symmetry and the beautiful use of humanity, even not in humans, is so important. And I really think that we need to look at ourselves from outside, and Apes does that. We need to take a step out, look back at us and figure out what we want to represent, and that's what Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes does. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please do leave a like, a comment, a share, hit buttons. Just smash things on YouTube, and hopefully that shares this video more. I'm trying to grow this page, and you guys got me to 25K in May, which was my goal. I'm going to enjoy this and revel in it for a little bit, and then I'm going to soldier on to 31K, because that is passing my my social media stuff. So I've got different goals, but right now I just want to thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please do subscribe to let me keep growing this, and let me know what else you want me to review. I think If comes out this weekend, so I'll be checking out If, and you can expect that review this coming week. And earlier than that, you'll get my This Week in Comics dropping in a couple days. So much love to you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening. I'll see you soon.